to talk about how to have posture that improves your health and well-being. And all of the people in the audience from South Asia who have lived there or still live there know what I mean by remarkable upright posture, people who carry large loads on their head, work all day, and are very physically capable. And so there are some assumptions that people make about aging, and I'd like to challenge them one by one. So these are the three assumptions that I'm going to address. And one is we assume that as we age, we're going to be losing our balance, we'll be falling, we'll lose our upright posture, we'll round, and we'll also lose height. People assume that there's going to be some shrinking with old age. So I'm going to challenge each of these, and let's begin with talking about loss of balance. So now towards balance, there is a very important group of muscles, which are the buttock muscles. And those buttock muscles are really created to be behind us, that the angle, that the bottom would make an angle with the back. And somewhere along the way in modern industrial society, it has become common and even fashionable to tuck the pelvis. And what that does is it puts the buttocks in a position of disadvantage, and they can't work. And they really are the most important balance muscles in the body. So we have all seen people as they age with diminished glute tone or buttock tone. And then you see them with canes and walkers and such. This is contrasting. You see this Portuguese, he's called a descarregador, porter of fish. And you see how his behind is behind. And because it's in the right place, the buttock muscles are in a position of mechanical advantage, and they work with every step and give him really good balance, among other things. So this business of the behind being behind starts like we have it when we are first come on the planet. When we're real little kids, we all have what in the Gokhale method we call a J spine. The behind's behind. There's a strong angle where the bottom meets the back, and then up above it's pretty straight up and down. So you see like this, and then the behind's behind. So all the spine stacks on top of the leg bone, stacks on top of the heel. And this is how we begin. And this is also how people are in ancient times. If you look at old statues or old paintings, you see the same J-spine, you see the behind, you see that the buttocks are toned, and then that allows a very nice stacking of the spine up above. And we also see this in indigenous people. So again, the J-spine, the behind, strong glutes, and that's what gives us balance, no matter how old we are. And if you look at old anatomy books, you realize that we used to understand that this was the normal shape for the human spine. This is where the buttocks would be. You see that they're angled. There's a strong angle here, which makes a lot of sense. And modern anatomy books show this S-shaped spine, which really doesn't make sense. It's not a good fit for the cylindrical discs. The edges of the bones are compressed against each other, causing osteoarthritis and stenosis and what have you. And it is not healthy. And so we teach our students to go from this to this kind of shape, okay? More J-shaped. So let's look at loss of upright posture, because that's also an assumption we make, that we're necessarily going to round as we get older. And sure enough, if we look around us, we see that older people do tend to round in the upper body. And again, the origin of the problem is this tucked pelvis. Without the behind being behind, without the base of the structure having a healthy position, the upper body tends to curve forward. And then that's progressive with age. And so this is very unfortunate that it's common, but it doesn't have to be. if you look at other cultures who use their bodies more wisely in a more primal, ancestral way, you see that they remain upright into old age. And I'm sure everybody in the audience has in their memory, in their mind's eye, people with beautifully erect posture. There's no shrinking with age. She's fairly along in her age, but you can see her shoulders are really far back, her neck is really tall, not the least bit of rounding up top. Now, one of the things I blame for this rounded, stooped posture that progresses, that becomes worse with age, is the way we train our babies. Like, our babies have this kind of round, we give them car seats that shape them to be like C-shaped instead of lengthening and straightening out their spine. And because we start them out like this, I believe, is the reason that when kids sit in school, this is the way they sit. And by this age, we can see something's not right. But the way we try to address it is by yelling at them to sit up straight, stand up straight, pull the shoulders back. And that is not the right solution. It doesn't work. It works only momentarily. And then the kids go back to relaxing and slumping. And then that goes into old age, which is a real pity, because now there are also degeneration of the discs, and, the ligaments get loose, and there's all kinds of pathology that starts building. Now, the way we try to fix slumped posture is by sitting up straight, which I used to do a lot. You can see this is my MRI from when I was in my 20s, and I had a severe problem. I came to this work the hard way. And this is a very large L5-S1 disc herniation pressing against my spinal cord, causing a huge amount of pain and problems down my left leg. So I actually have on my back right now, I have some sensors that we have developed in our company. You can see on my back that there are sensors going on the midline of my spine, okay? And the reason I show them to you is because they're talking to an app that we've created that shows a real-time view of the shape of my spine. So you can see this actually reflects what my spine is doing. If I bend forward, it's going to bend forward. If I go back, it's going to bend back. And you can see right now that I have a pretty nice J spine, which is very different from what you saw on my MRI. And we use this to actually do research. So I'm going to say this is a good sitting shape. And now if I leave that baseline, I can see what I'm doing. So we also use it to train students to actually learn what they need to do in their body to get to this J spine. So I'll show you what I used to do, which was in the MRI. That's how it was, right? And to get an idea of what that does to my discs and nerves and so on, I'm going to show you a different view. So this is what's happening on the inside of me. And if I go back to my old ways, you can see how it puts pressure on the discs in an unhealthy way. Now, a lot of people do this kind of thing. They're slumping forward, and then it puts pressure on the discs in a different way. And then what we do is we teach our students how to be J-shaped so that they can have a healthy experience in their back. And just to give you an idea of, see, this is something we use in a classroom, but I have two other sensors on me, this is something that students take home. So one is here and one is on my low back. And I've got it calibrated. This is something that people can use. So we calibrate it, we say this is good sitting. And then if I forget and I go to some slumping, it'll show me. If I arch, it'll show me. And so what we do is we use technology. We use ancient wisdom and modern technology to make the changes happen rapidly and deeply. So for efficiency and effectiveness. So you can see once again how my spinal shape used to be very different indeed. It was much more of an S shape. And now you've just seen that I have more of a J spine. So people make these changes, and it's really important. But sometimes people have the idea like, oh, I need to be slender to have good posture and not have back pain and so on. It doesn't matter what your girth and what your your shape and height and so on is. The main thing is to have this J shape, to have this basic architecture that we were all born with. Bending, by the way, is a very important part of how people lose their structure and posture. And so you can see over here, this is a round back bend, which actually causes the stooping. So we're talking about stooping, and in traditional cultures, this is the way they bend. They hip hinge. The back remains flat and straight, and so it's like this. And this is a 82-year-old mill worker in Portugal, and you can see how he has a really nice flat back. And we've all seen people in the villages. This was in Orissa, and you can see how she's hip hinging to do the slip on her pottery, and it's the same structure that we see before. So bending, and you can see, and we help people make very profound changes. I think that's an important thing to emphasize and understand, that all these problems that we have from modern cultural influences can be changed. So here we have it. So here's another thing, a loss of height. This is another thing we make an assumption of. You see all these life cycle graphics, and we go from babyhood, we become adults, and then we shrink. Yeah, so here you can see how people go, through their cycle, and then they shrink. We just assume that this is the way it is, but it doesn't have to be. And again, the simple architecture we assume in sitting, standing, bending, etc., has a big impact on whether we're going to shrink. So this is my child number 3. So after child number 1, which is where I had my very big back problems, I was advised not to have any more children. So there's actually a long gap before I dared to have another child. And then I had 2 more, and I didn't have any problems at all, because by that time I knew how to use my body. And in fact, I haven't had any back pain or twinge or ache in the last 30 years or more. So, and the one thing I had when I had my second and third children, by this time I knew what to do, how to carry them. And so they actually have really good posture. You can see my third child, very nice J spine. And you can see how that is contrasted with her friend, who has the more common modern posture with the C spine. So having this J spine, allows you to be upright, not stooped, have good balance, and be very functional. High energy, because the blood can flow well, and the muscles are well nourished, and so on. And here you see a clerk, and he works from sunup to sundown. And you can see that he has very upright posture, and his chest is open and beautiful, right? And we all see this. There's also this kind of sense of self and natural dignity and natural beauty that comes with having healthy architecture, healthy ways of moving. You see this child in the Odyssean marketplace, her mother hip hinging beautifully. These are very functional ways that we would like to find back again. And there's no reason why we can't reabsorb these wise ways of using our body into a more modern context. We're actually, sitting at people sometimes think, oh, I sit at a computer. No wonder I have back pain. No wonder I have problematic posture. But it doesn't have to be so. It's actually very definitely possible to change it up, to evolve your posture, to make very profound changes.
Any last takeaways, like to summarize? We are about to end our time.
So I would say that as human beings, we have remarkable structure, and all of us want to realize that, when something goes wrong, not to immediately think that, oh, it's normal to have back pain, or yeah, I wore out my knees or whatever, that to be looking more deeply, because usually there's a postural, structural contribution that you have control over. And you can improve your wellness by having that approach, by looking in an informed way and learning about your natural structure and being very pleasantly surprised. In our experience, that's how our students reported, by how much disability and aches and pains they can get rid of, and how much better their lives become, because now there's more energy, there's better appearance, there's more stamina, all kinds of bonuses that we get from having good structure.